A history-making verdict as for the first time ever, the child of a sitting president has been found guilty of criminal charges.
Reporters rushed back to court after word came down that the jury had reached a verdict after just 3 hours of deliberation.
Hunter Biden has been found guilty on all counts.
Well, Hunter got exactly what he was asking for. He wanted this trial, he got it, and he got a big guilty verdict.
And he lied. He said, no, I'm not a habitual user of drugs. They had pictures of him in a bathtub with a crack pipe. I mean, you couldn't have a more clear case of somebody who's not telling the truth on that form. Good afternoon, folks. Dave Epstein here from the Post-Pollock firm, Roseland, New Jersey, here to talk to you about another legal matter, and this matter is Hunter Biden. You ever hear of him? Of course you have. We've heard nothing but Hunter Biden for a few years now, and he was convicted today on 3 felony counts. I believe they're felonies. For violating a statute or statutes that require disclosure of certain things on a gun application. And he testified, and it is testifying when you fill those out, wrongfully, if you will. Now, this has become very highly politically charged, and people have asked, well, how will this affect the presidency? Well, that's really up to the voters. Because Joe Biden is not the one who's charged here, it's Hunter. But we can talk about that later. Let me first get to the nitty-gritty, because people are jumping all over the place with this Hunter Biden conviction. What he was convicted of ordinarily might not be as big a deal, but he's a celebrity. He's got a very powerful, influential father. He had a deal worked out, a plea agreement that the judge refused to accept on this charge. Probably rightly so, because it was letting a guy off who looked like he was guilty. He was charged with violating the statutes that concern, it's called ATF, Form 4473. And that's when you fill out a gun permit application. On the federal form, there's both state and federal involvement here. You have to certify, or you have to answer this question in the affirmative or in the negative. And it says, asks you this: are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? And it adds in there the use or possession of marijuana is still illegal under federal law, so it doesn't matter if it's illegal in your state. But what happened with Hunter Biden? Well, he was a long-time crack user, drug abuser. I don't think there's any doubt about it. His ex-wife testified about it. 2 girlfriends, one of whom was his brother's widow, testified to having found him using drugs, having abused drugs. So they were able to prove, the federal prosecutors were able to prove that he violated this statute. And that he lied. He said, no, I'm not a habitual user of drugs. They had pictures of him in a bathtub with a crack pipe. I mean, you couldn't have a more clear case of somebody who's not telling the truth on that form. And I gather that they tied it time-wise, the drug abuse, and at the time he was filling out this form, or he had been recently. So he's now been convicted. He faces up to 25 years. I do not think he will get 25 years in prison. As high profile as this is, and as much as the media is watching this like a hawk, I do not see a federal judge, I believe he's a first-time offender under federal law, getting this type of that type of sentencing. But I will say this: what he was convicted of is lying on a question that I would wager many people say no because they feel they're supposed to if they want to get that gun permit. But if you say no and they find out about it under this law, it's not just that you might have your permit denied, or if later, after giving you your permit, somehow the feds find out that you lied, they could revoke it. It's also you can go to jail for this. So you have to be very careful. That aside, people are asking, why is it that, how's this going to affect Joe Biden? Well, Joe Biden, again, was not the one who was convicted. It was his son. Whether that affects the voters or not, that's something that the voters decide. Legally speaking, there is no implication of Hunter Biden having been convicted, nor is there any legal implication of Joe Biden having supported his son. I mean, I have kids, anybody has kids, who can blame them? Just like you could say you can't fault Trump's kids for showing, some of them showed up at his trial for supporting their father. It's their father. That's the way families work. You try to stand by each other. But Hunter Biden will probably do jail time for this. And it's basically for having done what didn't probably seem to him to be a big deal when he filled it out, but he should have known that with the spotlight constantly on him as the president's son, also the black sheep of the family son, he should have known better. I hope that the court considers the fact that he sounds like he was a serious drug addict. I know he had some brain injury when he was a child in the accident that killed his mother and sister, but he's still going to he will have to face the music. With that said, hopefully now you know what actually happened. It was a gun permit application where he lied and he got caught and he got convicted today. Plain and simple. Thanks for tuning in. Dave Epstein, Post Pollock. I hope to hear from you or see you coming back here soon. Bye-bye.